we'll start with talking about the overview, and that's will be the first section, which I will take. Just looking around, quick overview of what is this Nigerian tax laws 2015 all about. Well, the law has four components. So when we talk about the new Nigerian tax law 2015 and 2025, there are four components in that law. We have the Nigerian Tax Act, we have the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, we have the Nigerian Revenue Service Act, and the Joint Revenue Board Act. Those are the four acts that makes up the Nigerian tax law 2025. So anytime we talk about the new tax laws, we are talking about these four acts, and each of them has specific items, specific issues it deals with. So when you talk about the Tax Act, that is that consolidates and repealed most of the tax acts that we are familiar with. The company income tax, the personal income tax, the VAT, the capital gains, all of those things have been consolidated into the Nigerian Tax Act. And it deals with the law that governs the tax itself. What kind of tax do you pay? How do you calculate it? How do you file it? All of those are the taxes you need to pay. How do you determine it? On what transaction do you pay it? All of those is what you have in the Nigerian Tax Act. Whereas when you talk about the Tax Administration Act, the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, that talks about how you manage, how you collect and administer the tax itself. How do we get this tax? Remember, the Tax Act talks about the tax you need to pay and how you determine what you need to pay. Whereas the Administration Act talks about how do I collect it and how do I manage it, how do I administer it. That's what the Tax Act, the Tax Administration Act is focused on. And then the Nigerian Revenue Service Act establishes what we call the Nigerian Revenue Service, which has replaced the Federal Inland Revenue Service. We're all familiar with Federal Inland Revenue Service, but that has been replaced by Nigerian Revenue Service now. So no more FRS, rather what we have is NRS. I mean, that's what is happening globally. It's a global trend now. People are changing the revenue collecting again to be an umbrella body, trying to pull all their revenue collecting agencies into one single agent, which is the same thing Nigeria is trying to do. Then the last one is the Joint Revenue Board Act, which creates the statutory body for the federal government, that's Nigerian Revenue Service, and the State Internal Revenue Service plus the local governments. So it creates that body, bringing together all these three tiers of governments to discuss the issues of taxes and revenue collection. So that has been created by the Act. And also it creates what we call the Tax Ombudsman. So part of the creation of this law is to create a special body to help or to mediate tax matter between the tax authority and the taxpayer. That ombudsman was created for that purpose. So you could approach them when there are disputes, when there are issues, to mediate between the tax authority and the taxpayer. And then when we go into the act, we'll talk more about that. Then we have Joint Tax Appeal Tribunal. This also law created the Joint Tax Appeal Tribunal. So those are the four acts that we have under the new Nigerian tax law.